It's time to share my journey into the world of healing, intuition, and spiritual discovery. As I find my place as a healer, psychic, and medium, I'm here to share my experiences and insights in hopes of breaking down barriers between different spiritual perspectives. Whether you're curious about energy work, looking to deepen your understanding, or just exploring your own path, this podcast offers stories, teachings, and connections to help you navigate the space between worlds. I'm Heather, and this is Soulful Wanderings. Are you coming along for the ride? Hey guys, I hope everyone is doing well out there. Today is actually Mardi Gras Day, the day that I'm recording this. So it's Fat Tuesday. A lot of people in South Louisiana that are celebrating, getting ready to move into the Lent season. Although it's a little different, I think today we've got some storm systems that are expected to come through actually any time now. So you may hear some noise in the background as I'm recording this. I'm also doing this episode a little bit differently this time. I've been told for a while in meditation and prayer, things like that I need to tell my story. And to be honest, I'm not exactly sure why. I don't know if it's supposed to speak to someone, if they're to resonate with it. I don't know exactly. I think sometimes when I look at things that have happened in my life, I feel fairly certain there are other people that have the same things going on. So maybe it's to know that there's a kindred spirit out there. But I'm finally trying to listen. So I'm doing this episode a little bit differently in that I'm telling a story. This is, I guess, a first in more ways than one, because basically this is the first story, and it's all about my first time, spiritually, that is. So let's dive in. I was nervous before the first quote-unquote class. This class was, it was kind of what started this whole thing, I think. But I'm not even sure that that's true, because this whole spiritual thing had really been with me all my life. I just didn't know it yet, or I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know what this was. I didn't know what was happening. But I'm sitting before this call and I'm nervous and I'm thinking, oh my God, for Pete's sake, it's a call. I'm an adult. What the hell is wrong with me? But this class was a mindset class, which I realized to many people, and especially now, a few years later, probably sounds somewhat harmless and benign, right? But I didn't know what that meant. Let me give you a little bit of my thought process of that day. I'm thinking, what do you mean mindset? And this is that woo stuff. I know it is. I've never felt woo. I mean, I'm a Christian after all. Woo's all that spiritual stuff. It's that out there stuff. That's not me. I'm normal. But what the heck? I was trying to start this side business. I'd been trying to start a side business many, many times. Freelance graphic design, marketing. But now this was a for realsies business, right? This wasn't the creative thing. This was a for real business. And the reality was I needed help. But here's the thing about this business. I felt like I kind of had to stop a shutter every time I said what I was doing. It was a multi-level marketing gig. I know. Aren't we all conditioned as a society to sort of sneer when you hear a mention of an MLM? But here's the truth. People do these and they do them successfully. And they aren't the root of all evil. And the truth is the model actually works. I think there are people that look down on them for a couple of reasons. One is, how many of us have had someone sort of underhandedly try to get us to join one, right? They've come into our messenger on Facebook and they've been, hey girlfriend, and they're trying to get you to come along and sell their product. But secondly, I think there are people that claim to make all this money with an MLM, and it feels like that they don't work for it, right? And it just doesn't seem fair. It seems like you're always going to be the guy on the bottom and you're never going to make that kind of money. That is a different discussion about a different thing that we're going to have on a different day. But I really do believe that that's some of the issue that people have with an MLM. But on this day in question, for me, money was tight. Money was kind of always tight. And I always knew that I was supposed to have my own business, right? So a dear friend of mine was trying this and she had suggested it. And it was actually selling a product. Truth be told, I actually liked the product. So I kept telling myself that I was helping people, damn it. That justifies an MLM. I'm trying to sell you a product that's going to help you live a better life. So sure, that justifies it, right? It's not like these other MLMs that people talk about. Sure. Anywho, fast forward a couple months and my up level had paid for this class for a few of her team who kind of needed a jump start. So I'm like, y'all, it can't hurt. And y'all, I'm horrible at this. I'm horrible at sales. It's never been my thing. And no matter how great the product is, I'm not good at it. And no matter how good the product is, people will, let's say, pause when you contact them, right? Because they know what you're doing. Now, some of them, they trust you, right? You're their friend, so they're going to hear you out. But at the end of the day, they know that you're trying to sell them something. So maybe a mindset adjustment was a good thing. And the other reality is, I guess nerves are kind of normal for me. You know, new things for a people pleaser and a haver of ADD with a very large touch of OCD, that generally is going to equal a case of the nerves when it comes to new things. So I log into the Zoom and it's a group of ladies and they all seem really nice. You know, the person that's leading was actually pretty cool and she seemed to have things structured in a way that made sense. And it was a normal class, y'all, with a normal curriculum and an end goal. But to me, mindsets seemed a bit like a moving target, I guess. You know, I still was kind of but what does that mean? And wouldn't it be different for every person? So as we got into it, it was like, oh, why do people call this woo? I mean, it's basically group therapy. You know, you're getting to the bottom of why you react the way you do and what's holding you back in whatever this thing is that you're trying. There were lots of phrases and techniques and such that I didn't really know about. Some of them would come up and not fully be explained, but you figure it out in context, or if it was something I really wanted to know, I would look it up later. Things like neuro-linguistics programming, which, oh gosh, that was a mouthful. That was hard to say. And that's not really woo, but I guess I don't know that I've ever really been to true therapy or anything like that. So some of this was just new to me. But then there was also talk of other things like empaths and how many people are affected by what they do because they're an empath. And eventually talk of things like psychic abilities came around. There would be card pulls, which was absolutely foreign to me. But this is when people were using tarot cards or oracle cards and things like that. And it was all fun and neat, and it really was helpful in learning about yourself and what was going on. But for me, one of the first things I thought was, y'all, they talked about this stuff out loud. They said the words out loud. One of the girls talked about how she was a medium. And she talked about how she had developed that gift for herself. It's fascinating stuff. But they said it out loud. Do you hear what I'm saying? Out loud. In my world, in my life, all my life, something like that would have been whispered. Do y'all remember that? I don't know if y'all are old enough for this, people listening. The time back when I was younger, when people would whisper things that were bad. It could be bad for a variety of reasons. In fact, they would say he had cancer. And they would whisper that word, cancer. Or he had had an affair. And they would whisper the word, affair. It's like if they said it out loud, it would make it worse. Or maybe they would catch whatever it was. And the reality is, this is how these woo things had been all my life. I'm not even sure people use the proper terms. They would say, there's people that talk to the dead, and that's demonic. But that's how it was in my world. Either the people I was around just didn't know these things, or they didn't talk about them out loud. Or if they did, they whispered. But for me, all of this, oh my God, it was so fascinating. And I was just immediately drawn to it. I never understood this stuff, but if I saw one of those shows that was on TV that had a medium in it, I would watch it every time. Movies and TV where you saw these people that were always portrayed as kind of out there and floaty, and they wore different clothes, and they used different words, and they acted differently. That's how they were in movies and TV, right? But I was always, every time I saw something like that, I was drawn to it. If it was a movie about a witch, I would watch it. If it was a movie about supernatural, I would watch it. And the truth is, it was like I couldn't take my eyes off of it. I wanted so desperately to understand it. How did they do that? Would they be proven wrong? Would they be proven a fraud? Like all the people in the church would say, see, they planted somebody in the audience. That's not really real. But I watched it. It was almost like I couldn't stop myself, I had to know, I had to watch. I was fascinated by these people. Do you remember for me, it was like the first time you snuck and watched a rated R movie as a kid. There was that little bit of thrill that you might get caught, that you were doing something wrong, that you could, at least get in a little bit of trouble for, but you were sneaking around to do it. I feel like that's how I watched this stuff. What was that guy's name that was on all the time? I think it was John Edward. He was before your Teresa Caputo's, the Long Island medium. So you can understand that when they talked about these things so freely, I was like a kid feeling like I was breaking the rules, right? No one was whispering the words. Everyone looked, well, normal. Whatever that means. They didn't look like the people I saw on TV. They just looked like me. And I think I was wondering kind of, when was someone going to come in and say, hey, what are y'all talking about? Being a parent. But there wasn't that person. There was no adult to come and stop the kids, so to speak. I was an adult, and I was here, and I could not tear myself away. So as all this progressed, I was in it. I wanted to learn everything I could. I was absorbing it like a little sponge. And the truth is, some of the things that we were sharing were actually quite intimate and vulnerable. And so we were all starting to share a bond, and we were starting to form friendships. We did things like friend each other on social medias and things like that. So I was ready, and I wanted to learn everything I could learn. And if I had to pinpoint a day where I say that my spiritual journey started, I think maybe this might be it. At least it's the big one that I can recall, that I can sort of put a pin in it. So that's the story about my first time. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you'll stay with me. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about the things that I learned and kind of what all that meant in me moving forward, and not only my journey, but in my life. Thanks so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and that it has helped you move forward in your journey in some way. Make sure and like and rate and subscribe and, do all those things for our podcast, because it really helps us out. Links and other important things you need to know will be in the show notes. And if you have ideas of topics you'd like to hear about or questions you want us to answer, you can drop those on the Soulful Wanderings page on either Facebook or Instagram, or you can drop us an email. Again, check the show notes for all that. If you're interested in theta healing or reading or just more spiritual topics, head over to our website, soulfulwanderings.com. In the meantime, take care of yourself and each other. Until next time.